Thank you very much for joining us. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Just to keep the tradition, I'm based in Vancouver when the local time is 11 a.m. and I'm very happy to be here. As you have probably seen on the flyers and on the screen, my name is Bita. I'm a teacher trainer, and a learning and development coach with just about 20 years of experience in the field, which gives away my age, but that's something that I have gotten used to. But today, here I am as a storyteller, and I want to share a story that you can all relate to. Something about those unexpected moments when our well thought out plans don't actually go quite as planned. Let's get started by meeting the hero of the story. He is Joe. Meet him. And I know what you're thinking, and trust me, I thought about it. I wondered whether I should put a man, a woman, a young person, an old person, because these days you really have to be careful who you put on the stage. But Joe, our Joe, is not representing anything in particular. He's just Joe, just a regular teacher like you and I. And he has done his fair share of teacher training. He's done his fair share of learning how to teach. He's probably got his teaching certificate, a CELTA or a TESOL, and he has learned all about how to plan lessons, lesson shapes, lesson formats, and he feels ideas and strategies to go inside the classroom and win over his students. But what happens when his dreams are crumbles? Well, his lesson is disrupted. The video that he based all his lesson on didn't play. The students asked questions that he hadn't anticipated. The activity that he thought would take just a little bit of time took a lot. And what was worse was that he asked the question, and then suddenly, crickets. No answers from anybody. Does that sound familiar to you? Probably yes. We've all been there. So how do we feel? Well, back to the story of Joe, he felt like the worst teacher ever because he was ready and convinced that he's going to teach the best lesson of his life. He felt disappointed, frustrated, and thought that perhaps it's about time that he retrieves his LinkedIn password and put up this status like open to work again. Maybe teaching is not the job for him because after all, if all that planning, if all that preparation, all that training didn't work and they didn't deliver results, then what would? But before he jumps into conclusions, he stopped and reflected. And that's when the magic happened. He remembered one of his trainers once saying that it's not about your teaching, it's about your students learning. And he thought to himself that maybe, just maybe, he was giving his lesson plan too much credit. After all, plans are great, but flexibility, that's where the real learning happens. Now, the story of Joe is the story of you and me. At some point, either the easy way or the hard way, we all learn that things don't always go according to plan. And as scary as it seems, there's also beauty in it. Let's focus on the beauty and the good side and the positive for now. They say teaching is an art. You know what else is an art? Music. Now, how many of you listen to music every day? A lot of us? Yep. Okay, and what's your favorite genre of music? Do you listen to rock, blues, pop, all sorts? Good answers in the chat. Well, if you want to compare teaching to music, what genre would it be? What do you think? Right. Teaching is jazz. That is right. How and why? Well, it is jazz because it involves a lot of improvisation. It has a structure, but there are spaces, there are gaps that you need to fill in with your creativity. The best teachers know how to read the room, they know when and how to pivot, when necessary, and they feel comfortable with the disorienting nature and unexpected of the unplanned. Now, this could be difficult, but it's also incredibly rewarding if we adopt the right mindset. What's that? Well, probably one thing that could work for us is the yes and mindset. It is something that we have borrowed from improv comedy, and it's about yes, accepting what is happening, and building up on it, turning it into something else, planning a lesson based on it. Moral of the story: instead of seeing interruptions as problems, we can see them as opportunities to expand. For example, and please hear me out, this and all the other examples that I share with you are not one size fits all recipes for everything, but these are just ideas that you can adapt and modify for your lessons. So trust your better judgment, take from it what works and leave the rest behind. I won't get offended. So if a student in your class misinterprets an instruction, instead of saying, no, that's wrong, this is what we're supposed to do, say, interesting. Let's explore that idea and compare it with what we were aiming for. Who knows? Maybe this new path gets you to even better places. It will allow you to teach the room and not just the plan. So here's the big question: to plan or not to plan? That's the question. Who votes for no planning at all?
Wow, amazing. Half an hour. I don't know if it'll last. I think they're like.
Okay. Some background noise, probably someone needs to go on mute. Okay. So I hope you all agree that having no plan is actually having a plan for failure. And when we're talking about the plan, we're not talking about those 5 or 6 pages of detailed lesson plans on teacher training courses. Could be your mental notes a few minutes before you go into the lesson, the little scribbles that you have on your course books, anything that gives you an idea of where you're going with your lesson. So planning is good. Let's do that. What are plans, though? Plans are maps. They are not your GPS. They're there to guide you, but detours are an important part of your journey. Instead of following a rigid script, we need to involve our students in the process. After each activity, we can have a quick reflection. Ask what worked and what didn't. Put the results into use and make informed decisions about the next step we want to take. We can use these moments of reflection to modify the plan as we need it and adjust the direction together. This will lead to a more organic, student-driven learning experience. What does it mean in terms of classroom practices? Well, there is a very interesting strategy that some teachers apply, and that is having a live lesson map somewhere on their board or on their screen. They put down the blocks of the lesson in easy language that students can understand. It doesn't have to be reading for detailed comprehension or a follow-up task. It could just be discussion, vocabulary, reading, discussion. And then as they go through the stages of the lesson, they check the boxes. All right, this we did, this we didn't, this took longer. And then at some point, as they see fit, whether during the lesson or towards the end, they'll go back and review the live lesson map with each other. Then this will help them prepare for the next time they're doing a reading lesson or the next time they're doing any other lesson of the same type and shape. So think about having a live lesson map somewhere on your display and help the students see where you're going. Leave little notes for you and your students together as a group to go back to and discuss them. Second, well, I like my dresses with pockets. I particularly like my back pockets. And I'm sure that your back pockets are filled with Fun little tech-light activities that you can do when plans derail, like go in a different direction, or lessons are derailed. Let's take a look at a few of them together. And again, take from it what you think would work. Reflection moments. Silent reflection moments are useful tools. When things slow down, ask students to take a minute to jot down their thoughts about the lesson or the topic, and then share them with you as a group. This will give you a clearer sense of direction on where to pivot. Lesson energy is dying out. Say, all right, everybody, moment of reflection, 1 minute. Where are we? What are we doing? This can easily be followed by a vote. Do a quick poll. If you're using Zoom, you've got the app and you've got the tool available. If not, they can vote with their feet, they can raise hands, anything that works for you. Which topics do you want to explore more? This can engage the students and guide your next move as well. The oldies but goodies, the KWL chart. Another moment in time where you can ask the students, say, all right, everybody, so KWL, what do you know about what we're talking about? What do you want to know? And then beautifully at the end of the lesson, you can bring it all together by students reflecting on the whole experience and talking about what they have learned at the end of the lesson and what they're walking out with. This one is particularly a fun one. Using emojis. It's a good emotional check-in with your students when you ask them to describe their feeling about a particular moment during a lesson using an emoji. They can put it in the chat, and then you can also use it as a way of gauging the students' reactions, their engagements, and turn it into a speaking by asking them to justify their choice and telling you why they picked that. Let's try it now. We're 15 minutes into the session. Use an emoji to describe your immediate feeling right now. It's good. Getting a few smiley faces. See, I told you this one is my favorite. And think, pair, share. Even if your class is quiet, letting students discuss in pairs can quickly get the conversation flowing. A little bit of a hat swapping when you go around the room, becoming a prompter one moment, a contributor the other, helping them with ideas, helping them with language that they need. These are the things that we can do to bring the lesson back on track or keep it flowing when things do not go according to our plans. So these little activities can fill in moments of time. This is the time that you may need to find your footing again, get back on track, and continue the lesson. Sometimes what comes out of these activities gives you new perspectives as to where students really want to go with the lesson. And there again, let us remind ourselves, it's not about our teaching, it's about their learning. So we put their needs first and we cater to their needs. If that means that you have to pivot, change stuff, move in a different direction, this time you have got the confirmation of your students to back up your decision as well. You should be feeling better about it. So, other challenges that we have that will make the lessons fall apart sometimes? Well, sometimes all you need to do is to change one thing. You don't need to change the entire thing. Little changes can make big differences. Change the interaction pattern of one activity. If you are planning to do a pair work, do a whole class discussion instead. Change the outcome of the activity. If you are planning to do a writing, do a speaking instead. Or change the challenge level. You can always make things easier or more difficult. You still find some time, ask a follow-up question. Probably the reason you and I have ended up in the classroom was that we were good around people. We were able to initiate and maintain meaningful conversations with people. If we didn't like people, or if we don't, we're probably in the wrong profession, you know? So use that talent and put it into work by asking questions that would be thought-provoking, engaging, interesting, reflective, and would bring the students' voices into the picture. What about technology? Well, you know what they say, when teaching fails, when tech fails, teaching prevails. Well, technology is a great tool. Tech-dependent activities can be great, but they can fail. And they do sometimes in the worst possible moments. Don't ask me how I know. So it's smart to always have a low-tech alternative ready. If your lesson plan relies heavily on a video, have a summary and discussion prompts prepared so you can use instead if the video doesn't play. If there is a listening activity, have the script ready. You might have to turn your lesson from a listening to a reading. It's not going to be the biggest crime of all time. You are developing receptive skills anyways. Pro tip, for all tech-based activities, have a QR code ready that links to an alternative version of the activities, notes, handouts, and everything that students need. They all have their smartphones, so they can very easily scan it, and within minutes, the lesson will be back on track. Despite everything that we've discussed, things may still go not according to your plan, and that's okay. When that moment comes, take a deep breath and zoom out. Focus on the bigger goal. What do you want your students to walk out of the lesson with? Is your plan the only way to get them there? What other path can you explore to get them there? Be there, be present in the room with them. Read the room and read their reactions and lean into the experience. Listen with an open mind and, of course, an open heart, and trust that the students will show you where to go and what to do. After all, again, it's all about their learning and not your teaching. And sometimes simplifying the plans can help students meet the goals and move you out of the stage that you're stuck in. As they say, students will remember minutes from your lessons and not moments. A spontaneous, engaging moment is often far more valuable than sticking rigidly to your plan. Every challenge is an opportunity to learn and can be turned into a teachable moment. And above all, always remember that the greatest tool that you have inside the classroom is not your lesson plan. It's not the tech. It's not the material. But it is you and your students. You're the magic in the classroom, and you're the reason the students succeed. Teaching is not about perfection. It is about making connections. And that connection, it is what lasts. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining me today. I hope that this gives you something to think about next time you find yourself stuck in a situation. Go forth, embrace the unplanned, and I guarantee that your students will remember you for it. Flexibility is our superpower, so we're going to use it wisely.